Kadosh, 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 Adonai, Sabaoth, amen, amen, amen. I'm Michael the Archangel. I'm in Genesis chapter 3, verse 3 through 5. It's about the fruit Eve gave to Adam. Quickly, Genesis chapter 3, verse 3 through 5. But of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God had said, ye shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die. Verse 4. And the serpent said unto the woman, ye shall not surely die. For God does know, verse 5, for God does know that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be open, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. The serpent is really a person, tempted Eve to eat of the fruit which God didn't want them to eat. And Eve passed the fruit to Adam. But the serpent here, what is key to point out, because there's many interpretations of these verses. There's deeper interpretations of these verses, but I'm just coming briefly with a straight to the point interpretation. In verse 5, Genesis chapter 3, verse 5, for God does know that in the day ye eat thereof, the fruit. Again, Genesis chapter 3, verse 5, for God does know that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be open, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. That of the fruit is basically it's a different wisdom, it's a different knowledge. But it's again in verse 5, for God does know that in the day, Genesis chapter 3, verse 5, for God does know that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and you shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. Now, what's key is the verse 5 says you shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. Right, because the gods are an extension of the followers of the author and finisher. Author and finisher is coming from a high priestly order, the Melchizedek priest order. But to add to that, in verse 5, it says, and ye shall be as gods, knowing evil. So the serpent said, for God does know, in verse 5, Genesis chapter 3, verse 5, for God does know that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be open, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. Now, here's the thing. The gods know good and evil, but the difference with the gods and the average person is that they stay on the good side. The average person, when their eyes are open to evil, as you see in the world, evil takes them over. That's when you start talking about the sting of death, death by pain. So that's the difference between the gods and the average person. The gods know the knowledge of good and they know the knowledge of evil, but they stay on the good side. And Adam and Eve, as soon as they were open to the knowledge of good and evil, that was their fall. Now that's the point I want to drive home. The gods have knowledge of good and evil, meaning they're just as elevated in the knowledge of evil as they are in the knowledge of good, but they choose to do good. The average person, and Adam and Eve is an example. Yes, they were good, but when they were open to the knowledge of evil, they fell. That was their fall. So it is what it is. That was their fall. So it could be a hard task where you're in the knowledge of good, but soon as you get open to an evil wisdom, it's very hard not to fall into that wisdom. You can fall for that. Kadosh, 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 Adonai, Sabaoth. Amen, amen, amen.